Hey, welcome back to Duckman Cycles of VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're going to be working on my 1956 Beetle today, also known as Eleanor. We did a little bit of chopping up on the torsion bar last week, and we did some work to install some adjusters so that way I can raise the height of it simply by adjusting some screws. Went ahead and put a coat of paint on it, and it took a little while for it to dry. In fact, I wanted to give it a couple days, but because I've just been so busy, it's actually taken probably about a week. All week long, rain has been in the forecast, and I really didn't want to get the thing rained on because, well, the tunnel really doesn't need water inside of it. The outside is very well painted, but the inside doesn't need to be getting wet. But all week long, there's been rain in the forecast, and not a single day do we get any rain. I mean, none at all. And then there's today. Today there was no rain in the forecast, and guess what happened first thing this morning? So anyway, it's a little late in the day. It's like 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. It's finally cleared up, and there's no rain in the forecast until tonight. But we know how that goes, so... So anyway, we're going to continue working away at this thing, but meanwhile, you want to like, comment, and subscribe on my videos. If it's your first time watching, please go ahead and leave a comment. Let's find out who you are. I want to know you're watching. You know, I really enjoy that you guys are here, and I really thank you very much for it. I really appreciate that a lot. What happened back here? Uh-oh. Something happened to my backdrop TV. Come on, TV, wake up. Actually, the damn TV went to sleep. No, rebooted. I must have had a little power flicker here that I didn't see. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button so you get updates every time I upload a new video. Check out my Facebook group page, Duckman Cycles VW Garage. Do a search on Facebook. Join the group. There'll be discussion on this as well as some of my other projects. And as always, if you're interested in emailing me, that would be duckmancycles@duckshit.net. That's right, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Send me an email. Let me know you're watching. And if you got a project you'd like to share, please share it over on the Facebook page. All of us would like to see it, not just me, but we have almost 300 members now, and everybody on there is very active and likes to share their projects as well as discussion on whatever we've got. We're going to go ahead and start putting the pan back together and get it ready for the body to drop back down on it, and we're going to try to demonstrate the up-down magic of the adjusters. Stick around. Bah! Well, anyways, once the paint got dry to the touch, that following night after I painted it, I went ahead and I covered it up. Like I said, I didn't want to get any rain down inside the tunnel. Because if it gets down inside of here, it's going to rust the inside of that out because there's usually minimal to no coating on the inside of it. That's a new dog barking. I never heard that obnoxious shit before. Alright, there it is. Uncover it. And in here is where we put the torsion adjuster. And up underneath you can see where I ran the screws into it. Now those particular guys that I ran into there, they didn't want to go in, and I guess it was because a couple of little weld BBs got in there, or perhaps when I painted it, it just got into the threads. No big deal, I chased it with a tap that I went and bought, and surprisingly, it was the same size and thread as a cast iron pipe. So it actually came from a pipe threading set. And I tapped that out and went ahead and cleaned it up and put it back together. So they screwed right in after that by hand, no problem. I didn't even need a tool. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this thing upright. And you can see this whole pan has been cleaned. And some of it was painted actually a couple years ago, like this area here, which is a little dull. It's actually just a little bit dirty. I didn't bother to repaint that area because actually this has been painted. I think I've got like 8 light coats of paint on it, including the 2 coats of rust inhibitive primer that I put on there. So it's pretty well durable. There's a couple places that I did chip through it, like back over here where the C-tracks do bolt down to the floor. I did scratch that paint up a little bit. As you notice, it's a little bit dented there. I'm actually going to lay a strip of 1/8" steel over this and run the seat through that. Otherwise, it's going to have a tendency to want to tear through these floors, and these floors are rather thin sheet metal, so I need to spread that load. And also on the bottom, I need to put a really big washer or also another piece of flat bar steel. So I'll have that set up just the same. I was going to weld into the pan, and I'm thinking I probably should still do that, but after putting all these coats, I should have chamfered that edge a little bit. I see some burrs sticking out here that I didn't notice before. But anyway, I probably should have welded a strip into it. I think that would have been better had I have done that both top and bottom. Then it wouldn't have had a piece that's all loose and flapping around. Yeah, I guess I still could, but I really don't want to, like, repaint everything again. I'll make some kind of, like I said, a really big washer, just a big piece of steel that goes over that hole. And that includes these holes down here, and the ones for the other side just the same. Okay, so we're going to get this wheeled up to the front yard. We're going to put it in the driveway. We're going to start putting that rear suspension back together, bolt the front beam back on, and start playing with the adjusters and make this sucker go up and down. Let's see how that's going to work. Meanwhile, we've got the ducks in the swimming pool. Well, they were in the swimming pool. What you doing, ducks? Yeah, we got some weeds growing back here, kind of tall. I can hardly see you. You be good ducks, okay? That's Skeeter the duck. She's got her own YouTube channel. Right, Skeeter? Hiding in the trees. Daddy's gonna come back here with a weed whacker and cut these things down. Yes, he is. Yeah, you're a good girl. All right, I'll leave you alone. And then Boomer over here. Let's see if he chases me. Come on, Boop. Nope, maybe not today. Okay, we've got Eleanor out of the garage, and we've got the pan set up over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the torsion bars in the ends here before we drop it back down on the ground, just because those are really just a pain in the ass to get them right. And it's a whole lot easier to do while you're standing up than when you're bending over on the ground. So I'm going to try to put these in and get them kind of in sync. And one of the good things about those two screws on the bottom here is that if they're a little bit out of sync, I can make a very small adjustment in the screw and get them balanced. So the first one we're going to start with is the right side, and it should say right side on this bar. Yep, there it is. It's upside down, but that's the R. And it's going to go, well, on the right side of the pan, right over here. So I'm going to grease up that end over here. I'm going to drop the spoons down into place inside and work the torsion bar into place, and then slip on a spring plate, which I have just hanging here, right, so it's easy to get to. Put the rubber bushings on with some grease and start putting that together. Okay, here's our spoons. They very simply just drop into place in here. And you know what? I should have greased them before I put them in, because yes, they are moving parts. So let's pull them out and we'll do that again. Somebody someplace will criticize me, of course, if I don't grease them first. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, there's the spoons all greased up. Just drop them right into place. Push them in there as far as they go and push them to the back. Alright, there they are in position. Let's go ahead and slide in the torsion bar. Looking down inside the torsion tube, you can see the splines and the spoons way down inside of there. So I've got to slide the torsion bar into that, and before we do that, of course, we're going to grease up the splines here. Okay, we are good and greased, and there's a garbage truck coming down the road, so it might get a little noisy. Well, we got to drop this down inside the tube and slip it right into the splines. And it's usually really easy to do. You do it just by feel. And there it is, it just went right in. Just bop it a shot and make sure it goes all the way in. And while, if you had a stock Beetle without these spoons in it, you won't be able to check, but you actually can look inside of here and you see how that torsion bar came all the way through. In fact, it's probably protruding through too far even, because it's going to be interfering with the one on the other side. But that's okay. We'll push in the other side one and we'll get them balanced out, and then once you tighten everything down, they should even each other out without a problem. Okay, here's our torsion bar. I'm going to put the rubber bushing on here, and I'm going to put the spring plate on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the spring plate at the maximum drop. In other words, I want the spring plate to hit the top bump stop here, right where it's going to quit. Noisy damn garbage truck. But I want it to hit the top up here at the same time as that spoon is bottomed out. So that way when I tighten that screw, it will raise the suspension. Now there's not a whole lot of travel in it. It actually only goes from, well, right about here to right about there. But when your wheel sits way out here somewhere, that's actually a lot of motion. And it might be a whole entire 6 or 7 inches. I mean, there's a lot of motion in it. Okay, so we're going to put some rubbers in there, and we're going to play with this thing, and we're going to get this adjusted as best we can. I might even go ahead and stick a 2x4 in the hole there to keep that spoon pressed down while I'm playing with the torsion bar here and getting it to max out on that. I'm also going to want to grease the end of the torsion bar that goes up here into the spring plate cup, so that way that's nice and clean also, because you don't want that rusting or getting stuck someday if I ever should have to take this apart again. And that doesn't usually happen because water doesn't usually get up in here, but we're going to do it anyway because that's just the right way to do it. Alright, I slapped the bushing on the back there with some grease in it, and I think I nailed that on the first try. I don't usually get that lucky that often, but if I push this down, I can actually hear the spoon inside, the little finger on it bottom out, whereas this over here is about to hit the bottoming location. So, I mean, yeah, I really lucked out on that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bushing back on the outside here, and we're going to get the cover bolted down on that one. I still can't believe that I got it on the first try. Yep, that's winning right there. Okay, here we go. Now, the method used to grease these bushings seems to be highly controversial, and I don't know why that is, and I had no idea that it was so controversial until the last time I put this video together. Some people say, you know, fill them up with talcum powder, and I tried that, and it made the bushings nice and dry, and it gave them a nice smooth inside, but after bouncing on it just a few times, these bushings started to squeak, and squeaking is not something that I want to deal with. So, underneath that grease, and, well, you can't even really see it, but up underneath that grease is a very common ingredient that I have been referred to trying, and it's called Teflon tape. And it's readily available in any hardware store. In fact, this is the gasoline impervious stuff. They said that's actually a little bit better with grease, but what you do is you wrap one layer around, the same thickness as the bearing, then coat it in grease, and then slide that bushing, or as I just called it, a bearing, it actually is a bearing, slide that sucker right on down, and make sure you grease both surfaces because it's going to be on this side as well, and you want to also grease the outside, but that's besides the point. Nonetheless, you're going to want to put this on here. Ooh, that went on nice and slick. Yes. And then you want to grease the outside of it too, of course, and inside of here is where that would go. Now we want to run the Teflon tape around the outside of this just the same, and then grease the ever-loving hell out of it once again. And supposedly it stops us from squeaking. Now, I haven't tried this before. I've only ever greased them, and I've actually had pretty good luck just greasing them. You know, they haven't squeaked on me in the past, but the talcum powder actually, as you saw in the last video, I jumped up and down in this pan, and it made a whole lot of noise. So anyway, with that said, we're going to try Teflon wrapping and greasing and seeing if that makes a difference here, and we definitely want to have that nice smooth motion. Somebody told me that these spring plate bushings actually deflect. In other words, they twist. They wrap themselves up. So in other words, they form as a spring. And it may be the case on a 944 because they are actually bonded to the spring plate, but on a Beetle they're loose. They spin freely, they're not glued down. So it might be different from a Porsche to a Volkswagen Beetle, but nonetheless, this is going to get properly greased the way it's always been done and the way that I've always read how to do it. And I'm going to stick with that method. So thank you everybody that's contributed, but we're going to try the Teflon method with grease this time. Together. Okay, well anyway, this is going to go on here just like that. And then we've got to work those 4 bolts in each one of these corners. And I'm going to not do that on camera. There was a couple techniques to it, of course. Some people say, you know, run longer bolts into it, and then one by one replace them with shorter bolts that originally came with it. And I don't know why Volkswagen didn't just put longer bolts in here to begin with. I've always been pretty lucky about getting one of them in, and then crisscrossing and getting the other one in, and then 3, 4, and, you know, so forth, you're done. So we're going to jump on that next, and then we'll hop over to the other side. Okay, looking at my spring plate over here, now that everything's all bolted together, I got those tightened down and I've got them torqued down. And using my pry bar and a little bit of force, I can actually move this, which I could not do before. So I think that Teflon tape definitely did something good for this. Definitely did something good for this. And as I said, it's pivoting real nicely. So we're ready to hop around over to the other side. So anyway, we're ready to start sticking the torsion bar back into this side. And once again, we want the spring plate to catch on the bottom over here, and we want it to be bottomed out at the same time inside of here. So I think we're in good shape from what I'm seeing. All right, let's go ahead and get this bolted in. The left side in this chassis was always a little trickier to get them bolts into there, but once I got the one of them started up in that corner, I just pinch it with a set of these vice grips, and it's pretty easy to get the rest of them in. And once you've got them started and snug them up just a little bit, I'll be able to take off the vice grips and get that last one in. And I don't know why, but this side was always just a little bit harder than the right side. It's probably something to do with the bushings, or maybe they're just a little more fluffy, perhaps, or maybe there's some tolerance in the casting or something that's just not the same. I really haven't figured it out, but I don't know, but it's going to go on. One way or the other, we're going to get it on there, so not a big deal. Figure we'll go for a little quick demonstration here as to how this works. Right now you see that spring plate, it is hitting the top bump stop. This is currently at its maximum drop. Now the idea is I want this thing to swing down and hit the bottom bump stop here, and then it will be at its maximum elevation. So hitting the screws from the underside, this should make it move. That gets it. Down below, I can actually move the screw a little more, but the lock nut that's in place underneath actually just caught it. So anyway, I can't wind it in any more than that, but I don't think I'll ever actually be on the bottom of the bump stop. But yeah, that's how it works. You saw how much that moved, and when you get to the end of the lever that is the suspension, which is roughly twice as long as what you see from here, it's going to move twice the amount of distance. So it'll go from this to twice that on the other end. And of course I got a little bit more here, and if I decide to go nuts and even grind down the bump stops or notch out the spring plates, I can go even further than that. Anything beyond that I think is a little bit ridiculous. I think it's going to look pretty good. Of course I can't drive it when it's that low anyway. I'm going to be dragging my exhaust pipe on everything. That's how it works. Let's go ahead and bolt the rest of it together and see how much it moves when it's on its wheels. Okay, we've got our trailing arms laid out here. I'm going to start bolting them into place. I've got the chassis back down on the ground, as you can see. I just have a dolly with a stack of 4x4s on it, getting it up just high enough that it needs to be where it's at. And once I got these swingers on there, I should be able to put the wheels on next, and the sucker will be sitting here on the ground. So it's just a whole lot more of turning some more bolts, and I managed to dip my finger. Once again, my chassis has just sliced the shit out of me. It's really funny, Eleanor has really not cut me a whole lot until I started tearing up this chassis. As much as I've cut that body apart, it's the chassis here that has just destroyed me. But anyways, we'll stay at it and see what we leave at with, and I'm rather satisfied with the way everything's coming along here. Okay, we are getting there. I've got the rotor installed over here on the left side. I've got the wheel just kind of slapped on. It happened to be the pan that is exactly the right height to just slip the wheel on without having to get a jack under it, and it's actually just touching the ground. So I'm going to wind in the lug bolts over there. We're going to put the rotor on that side. I'm going to slap the wheel on along with the wheel adapter, because that side does have the longer studs. This side I still have to do that yet. We're going to see just how much up and down this thing's got. And I know me a little redhead that likes the up and down, and she's probably watching this, so okay, there it is. The entire rear end is now set up, and it's actually close to a maximum height right now. And the reason why it actually looks like it's a little lower than it normally would be is because the front end is actually way up in the air right now because it's still on the stand. So you have that seesaw effect. While the front end is up, the tail end went down. But just to give you an example as to how low it goes, currently it's bottomed out. That's as low as it goes. So we're going to see exactly where this turns out. Let's go ahead and throw that front end on before it gets dark and see what this is going to look like. It's only 4 bolts. Should be easy, right? Famous last words. So, what's the latest drama in the neighborhood? Somebody's apparently burning his house down. There's a big crowd of people out here earlier all looking around, and everybody scrambled inside. And it's probably because, I bet you, somebody is calling the fire department. And we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to continue working on our project. Still no fire department, but I'm hearing people across the street saying, "Is something burning?" No, there's smoke because it's freezing. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to continue bolting on that front end. We're going to see how this turns up. I'm going to let all the air out of the air shocks and drop it down to the ground. See just how low it goes. I'm quite curious. Now look at all that nasty camber on those wheels. A lot of that is going to be adjusted out when I set the alignment properly on this thing. And guess what I'm starting to hear? I'm hearing fire trucks. Lots of fire trucks. Here they come. They came from both directions, so we got 2 precincts recording. All that damn grease on my lens for my fingers. A little bit less glitter. And I still hear more sirens approaching. It's not the end of the neighborhood drama for sure. Oh my God. If they took any longer to respond to it, it's thought it would be a house fire. I think somebody was just burning a bunch of trash in the backyard. That fire truck just missed our street. I'm not sure where this little dude came from, but he popped up while I was working. And it looked like he kind of came out of the chassis. Well, since the chassis was outside, that might be why he's on it or in it or whatever the hell he was doing. But now that it's night, he's awake. So let's go ahead and get him out of here. He doesn't need to be in the shop. He's going to get stepped on. I know somebody would ask, just how low did this thing get? Well, there's your answer. I can't slide a 2x4 into the engine. The engine is not touching the ground, but it's about halfway into the 2x4, so we figure maybe an inch of clearance from the ground. And that's as low as I can get it without actually starting to cut spring plates in the shock towers. I don't need the car to sit this low. This is this is low enough, and of course this is just going to be for show. You know, when I get to the parking lot at a show or something, or you know, whenever I'm out with the groups and you're going out cruising and you stop at the burger joint and you dump it. You know, this is the only reason it would ever get this low. Being this low anyway, it's going to be sitting on the exhaust, and that's really not a good idea, because what happens when you sit on the exhaust? It screws up all of your seals, and then you end up with a leaky exhaust. Yeah, it probably won't be coming down this low, and if I do wind up making it that low, I'll probably put some kind of blocks or something on the underside of the pan to stop the exhaust from actually pressing down into the driveway. We don't need that. Just need to make it low enough. And this is kind of ridiculous. I must say, it turned out pretty good. I want to test the adjusters, but I'm having a little bit of an issue with that because, well, I want to put a power tool on it, and right now, you can't. There's no way to get a power tool underneath the chassis. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it up on some ramps and then demonstrate from underneath using a 90-degree impact driver just how much this thing will go up and down. In fact, you know what? I think we're going to do that. I can't not do that for you guys. You guys watch this video. I don't know how long it turned out to be, but if you've been watching this long, you need to see it go up and down. Let's go ahead and make that happen for you guys. I'm doing it just for you. Alright, well, I tried. I even put the thing up on some ramps, but my impact does not have enough torque. I mean, I could actually stop it with my fingers. And this was actually given to me by a friend of mine, and I never tried it before until just now, but yeah, extremely weak tool. I mean, it's great for turning a bolt, but once it comes down to actually physically tightening it, you're going to have to do it manually. And my drill does have enough torque, but the problem is, and you can probably see by just looking at it, it's entirely too tall to get it under that chassis. Even with it up on the ramps, I just can't do it. So I'm afraid it's going to be a big negative no-go on this one. I can't make it happen. So what I'm going to have to do is tomorrow I'm going to have to buy a 90-degree impact, and we're just going to have to try it again, aren't we? So stay tuned, stick around, and make sure you watch the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Pluck that little dingle belly. Don't forget to check me up on Facebook. Join the group page. Search for Duckman Cycles VW Garage and join the group. There'll be a discussion on this and maybe a few other things as well. Anything else that anybody else posts. The group is extremely active nowadays with almost 300 members, and there's a lot of people every day sharing different things and talking especially Volkswagen stuff. Sometimes motorcycles, but especially Volkswagens. And don't forget, if you want to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. So anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. Stay tuned, stick around. We got another video coming up. It's going to be the follow-up to this one. And I really apologize once again that I can't make this thing go up and down, but that's the best I can do for today. So thanks for watching. See you next time.